Let's be honest here. Not many people were happy when the reboot of He-Man was announced, especially after they turned Adam into a shish kebab in the very first episode of Revelations. But what do you know? The producers actually managed to redeem themselves with the second season being Masters of the Universe, Revolution. There are a lot of things that were introduced into the series, and we'll be taking a look at the top 10 things that make the latest He-Man series different from the first one. 10. Art style. Now, the majority of people who watch this new reboot already watched the previous season of He-Man, so they're used to the old, crusty, and janky art style from the 80s. Instead of making the art style modern, smooth, and state-of-the-art, the producers decided to keep a few elements from the previous art style so that the viewers wouldn't lose the feeling of nostalgia that they desired by watching the show. Still, something about pausing the episodes during intense fight scenes can sometimes show some hilarious frames of Adam and the others doing what looked like messed-up yoga stances. What made this season stand out from the previous one was the way we could properly see the characters' emotions on their faces. I mean, to be fair, technology wasn't that advanced in the 80s, but I sure am glad that we won't have to watch He-Man be angry while having a face like this. 9. Fight scenes. One of the best things that Kevin Smith changed from the previous season of He-Man was the fight scenes. They were way more intense this time around, with a mix of modernism and old-school elements. The effects from the characters' weapons and magic were clearer and didn't take up the whole screen either. For once, you could actually see what was going on without the whole screen going dark. There were no more weird transitions, and the movements of the characters were much smoother. Oh, and the music too. It finally matched the tensions of the battle, and fit well with what was going on. Rest assured, you won't be sitting there watching He-Man fight to save lives, while there's adventure music playing in the background. 8. Character designs. The next big thing that Smith addressed was the characters themselves. Let's be honest, the original Skeletor, Adam, Tila, cringy, and the rest were iconic. But then again, it's always nice to see your childhood favorites get a glow-up. He-Man finally had a flashier and much better suit to work with. Instead of his cloth rags, he was now wearing an animal's hide, and with more detailed accessories. The same was with the others too. It's refreshing to see that He-Man's original design was not changed, rather it was used as a base for his new costume, which featured his initial on his harness. It kind of resembled a DC superhero, which makes him likable by Gen Z too. Even the sword got a glow up, and it looked way cooler than it did all those years ago. It looked like a weapon you'd find in a Dark Souls game. 7. Animation. The reboot of He-Man introduced the characters to modern animation. I think the best part about the new animation is that the characters could actually mouth the words that were being spoken. It sure beats the god-awful lip-syncing from the 80s. With the new animation, it no longer looked like the characters were moving like they were in a slideshow. The upscaled resolutions and frame rates made everything that much more in-depth. He-Man looked like he had a 24/7 pump, because his muscles were more defined, and it actually looked like he could be the strongest being in the universe. Even Skeletor got his fair share of upgrades. His skull was more dynamic now, and his emotions could be seen clearly on his, eye holes and teeth. 6. The end of Randor. Now, we're coming to the story of the He-Man Revolution. In the very first episode, we see Randor, Prince Adam's father, coughing and showing signs of sickness. It turns out that it was finally time for him to kick the bucket. Old age was catching up to him, and it was time for Adam and the others to say their final farewells. Before passing, like any other royalty, he called his son to his deathbed and sat him down to impart some last words of wisdom. He wanted Adam to take up the throne and lead Eternia's people, but he couldn't lead and fight at the same time, so it was time for Adam to choose whether to live by the sword or live by the crown. 5. Tila and He-Man finally seal the deal. I guess the entire He-Man community can agree that this was long overdue. In the first season of Masters of the Universe, there were many scenes where Adam and Tila shared a moment of intimacy that hinted towards them having feelings for each other. At one point, it became so obvious that the viewers were practically begging for a decisive move by the two. Luckily for us, it finally happened. Things between Adam and Tila were no longer at a stalemate, and after saving her, before she got defeated by the power of the scepters, Adam and Tila finally kissed. About damn time, it was official. Adam and Tila were now lovers, and would later go on to have a son who inherited He-Man's powers. I swear, edging the relationship between these two for more than 2 decades was an insane move by the producers. 4. New and improved. He-Man with the Sword of Power. Apart from his design, He-Man actually received some buffs for his powers, as if the strongest being in the universe ever needed buffs. But okay, his suit looked more like one that belonged to a hero, and less like a barbarian from the prehistoric era. He gave his sword an upgrade and turned it into an enhanced Sword of Power, with the help of Orko and Gwildor. This new and improved sword turned He-Man into a he-beast. I mean, look at that hair, those huge muscles, and that shiny golden armor. Man just had the glow-up of the century, and even the sword looked like something out of a Halo game. Adam's powers had skyrocketed to the point where he could help Tila unite the triad of ancient magics to form Eternia. Ah yes, what's better than giving the strongest being in the universe more power? 3. Skeletor is actually He-Man's uncle, Keldor. Another huge reveal comes from the second season of He-Man, as it was revealed that Skeletor, the guy whom He-Man was constantly fighting and trying to bring to justice, was none other than the half-brother of his father, Keldor. Although he had blue skin, he was still Adam's uncle, and he was actually brainwashed by Hordak into doing his bidding and trying to wipe out Eternia for his gain. Don't get your sympathies up for this guy, though, because even after learning the truth, he went after Adam and his allies, after killing Motherboard in hopes of taking the throne. To be honest, it was rightfully his, but then again, his way of claiming it wasn't really that subtle. I'm sure if the guy asked for a proper coronation alongside a little tea party, the citizens of Eternia would have definitely given him a warm welcome, right? 2. Evil-Lyn is now just Lyn. Well, 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 what do you know? The second strongest sorceress has now turned over to the good side and is trying to make amends for the evil she wrought in the past season. Lyn was found by Tila in Granamyre's lair, who was apparently tending to the sick dragon and trying to keep him alive. Once she learned of the things that were happening on the surface, she decided to lend a hand and stop Skeletor from getting the Sword of Power from Adam. There was even a moment in which she teamed up with Orko to cast a combined spell that shielded Tila from Skeletor's army while she was performing the resurrection ritual. It was nice to have one more powerful sorceress on the good side of the war. 1. Eternia becomes a democracy. Now that Skeletor and his forces of evil were defeated, it was time for Adam to give his verdict on whether he'd lay down his sword and rule as the new king, or keep fighting for Eternia. In a shocking twist, he decides to turn the planet into a democracy and let the people choose their leader. There was no longer a throne to claim by successors, and even Keldor was locked up in the castle's stronghold with his crown. One would say that was a great dodge from responsibility by Adam. But then again, he is the strongest being in the universe, so it just makes sense for him to keep on fighting. That about wraps it up for our video on the top 10 differences between He-Man and He-Man Revolution. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more amazing content, and comment below which difference you liked best and which ones we missed. I'll see you in the next one.